On today's episode of That Was Us, we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 3, Kyle. Rebecca pays a surprise visit. Kevin makes plans to move. And Toby prepares a special day for Kate.
Welcome, everyone.
And Hello, we're back.
How's everybody doing?
Well, so good to see
This
you.
is so much fun. It's ridiculous.
It is. It's too much fun.
It's
almost.
an excuse just to kick it and watch a really cool show.
Not
I've
mad
been
at
spreading them out. I can't watch them back to back. So I've been trying to get myself trying to do like one a night.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Same. I
Same
mean,
thing.
I think for those out there that can binge more than one at a time,
Yeah.
my hat's off to you, but I
For
just
sure.
don't have the emotional capacity.
It also already feels like a fever dream to me that
Yeah.
we made the show.
Yes.
And so in order to come back and talk about the show, I need like to break up the episodes
Yes.
into
Totally.
into episodic chunks so that
Understood.
it does not, because it all runs together in my brain.
It does to me too. It feels like six movies to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the seasons. So it's good to sort of go back and get granular and just sort of do one at a time.
It's hard. It all melds together.
We start 103 on the bus.
That's right.
Right? And we see William riding the bus and sort of the story of William and Randall's mother,
Mhm.
sort of told up style in vignettes without, any dialogue or what
Sure.
have you, because he's on the bus. He sees her on the bus. They're all looking well. Then you see them sort of together on the bus and they're like happy and he's writing in his notebook and he's coming up with beautiful poetry, etc. And then at one point in time, you see they kind of fall on hard times.
You don't,
And
you
then-
don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is, but they don't look as well with
Healthy.
each other.
Yeah.
And you see him writing in his, and you can barely see what
it's
he's writing.
barely legible.
Barely legible. And then the next thing you see, he's on the bus by himself
Mhm.
with a baby in his arms. And I'm telling you, in terms of storytelling, and like Up, like that 2 minutes of Up,
Yeah.
that hits different.
Yeah. It's
Right.
true.
But if you can show it, you don't have to say it. And it was so succinct and so beautiful. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It gives us a launching point. It
Mhm.
makes you want to say like, okay, I want to know more about that story.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like this episode, just in general, is kind of a meditation on grief, right?
Yeah.
From my character's perspective, we're jumping back in time, which again, I think is a huge clue to the audience that we're not telling this story in, the fashion that you're sort of expecting.
Sure.
We jump back in time to Jack and Rebecca just about to leave the hospital. They have adopted Randall. He's part of the family. And you can see that Rebecca is despondent. Obviously, she
Yeah.
just lost a child. She's overwhelmed. All of the hormones of giving birth and going through what she just went through are coursing through her. And Jack is, in typical Jack fashion, just sort of like
Moving forward.
exactly moving forward, making the most of things. He's excited. He's ready to go get the car, get the babies home. Everything
Yeah.
is looking great. And I think Rebecca is just swimming in a sea of just utter, like underwater.
Yeah.
Postpartum shock.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we're invited in a little bit on the beginnings of her journey of the grieving process of like just the juxtaposition of becoming a new parent, having lost a child, bringing another child into the
Yeah.
family, still going home with 3 babies. Like it's
Unfathomable.
it's unfathomable. It was so hard as an actor to put myself in those shoes
Yeah.
of just like, where do you begin? What emotion do you find first? It's
Yeah.
nothing is tangible. You can't hold on to anything. You're in quicksand. So I think from that perspective, and then obviously your character learning over the course of the episode what's really ailing William and that
Yes.
things are not looking good. I mean, there's so many different like forms of grief that I think these characters are in the midst of dealing with.
You're being asked to put the bonding with Randall sort of above the grief that you have for Kyle.
Mhm.
If we just to go, the 3 triplet, Kevin, Kate, and Kyle, and Randall is named Kyle at that time. But I'm just going to refer to Kyle as the child that did not make it, the son that did not make it, for the sake of
Conversation.
clarity
Yes,
in
yes.
this conversation. And it's like, you know what? this decision was made as a family, whatever, your husband being the driving force of that, and you're like, okay, let's do it. But it's like, I haven't really had time to process, to fully grieve this one thing before you're asking me to do this next thing. And the transparency of Rebecca and being like, I'm not connecting with this kid.
Yeah.
He's not taking, I can't feed him or anything. And then Jack very willingly like, look, it takes some time. Look at how fast I connected to you. But very sweet. But at the same time, it's like, I don't necessarily need sweet right now.
No, that is not helpful.
Time to actually move through this thing.
And I need an answer. Like, I need to know what to do. I can't imagine now, of course, like pulling back the lens of like what it means to be a parent and how overwhelming that initial time is, and not knowing what you're doing, not having any of the answers, having to deal with the complications of all of that on top of it is just, it is unfathomable, truly.
Yeah. We've all brought home one baby.
Yeah.
One healthy baby at a time.
Yeah.
And experienced trauma and rupture between our, I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but like the marriage is now a new thing, and how I relate to my son and how my son relates to Rachel and
how you work together, all of it.
I can't imagine having to do that times 3, and while also having lost a child.
Yeah. Sidebar, I have a friend who he and his wife were having difficulties getting pregnant or whatever. And so they had a little bit of help, and they wound up having triplets. Right?
Wow.
And then so they went off of whatever they were utilizing to get those triplets, but the pump had been primed, so to speak. Got pregnant again with twins. Within a year, they had 5 children under the age of 2.
So we will be starting a GoFundMe page for this angelic couple.
That is wild.
They've all graduated college.
Okay, good.
Gosh.
Okay, good.
Yeah. This happened a long time ago, but like, what a feat.
Wow.
Man.
Mom and dad must pat themselves on the back every day.
They have to.
Somebody better.
They have to.
I think about that so often, though, in this particular case. Like, we're all so lucky that we have children and families in the day and age where it is really encouraged. Like, it takes a village.
Yeah.
Everyone deserves to have support. Like, lean on who you need to lean on. And in this case, I thought about this throughout the entirety of the series. Like, we're talking about a woman who raised 3 children with no help, no support, a husband who had a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like, the onus was on her to do everything. And it's just, I mean, my hat was always off to her. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, raising 3 kids anyway sounds challenging, but 3 kids all at once feels insurmountable.
It does.
In its own way.
I'm going to interject. Hopefully this comes off as a bit of levity, because I think we dodged one of the most incredible bullets in network television history by not naming 3 children.
KKK?
Just saying. I didn't pay it any attention at all. And I'm supposed to be, I'm like highly attuned to this stuff. And then I was
missed that.
Ooh, we got away with it.
White family. If their adopted black son, the 3rd K.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, that Dr. K must have been really charming for nobody. There's a few people that be like, you was really going to name your 3 children
KKK.
What if that had been William's response? I think the problem with the bonding is...
I think he knows.
KKK. Do you hear it?
Give him his own name. That doesn't start with a K.
We dodged that bullet and we made it through. Let me speak a little bit about that grief too, because it's interesting. I'll go like macro with the show, because sometimes people would get to a place where it'd be like, why are they always complaining about their dad? Like, you got to move on. You got to you can't let that be the thing, right? And I feel like sometimes people would find frustration in that. And I think sometimes, interestingly enough, the things that you're frustrated with are the things that you want to keep furthest away.
Sure.
Right? Because the way people process varies from individual to individual, and it takes as long as it needs to take in order to move on in a way that doesn't feel flippant or dismissive, that will resurface later on in life, but that feels fully processed and as at peace as one can be.
Sure.
Right? And so you have these 3 kids that find out they lost their dad, what have you. But in terms of Randall, Sorry, we're on 103 now.
Spoiler.
They know. They know.
But I throw this fit every time you guys talk. Guys, some people might be watching it for the first time.
In terms of Randall, and sort of bringing William back into his life, right? The thing that always sort of like struck me about Randall is he articulates this frustration in the pilot of how angry he is, but yet he drove to see him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
all he really wants is connection. And as we sort of like see Randall throughout time, like you see how important being with family, having Thanksgivings or Christmases and those sorts of things, like he likes to have life and family and love sort of like abounding in his presence, right? In the course of the season, we have William, his brother later, et cetera, et cetera. So it's part of who he is. And it's interesting because he reminds me a lot of my brother, who's very much the same way. He puts so much pressure on himself to make sure that the family is taken care of, right? The idea of after 36 years of finding someone to bring back into your life just to lose them, right? Like he's not even able to articulate, it's like, what's this going to happen to my children? Like, that like I'm bringing this man just for them to like not have a relationship. And his wife's like, what about you?
Yeah.
Bro, like, are you going to be okay? I mean, he's going to fight like tooth and nail as his mom or as Rebecca says later on to make sure that this outcome isn't the outcome that it's inevitably going to be. It takes for him to be able to be at peace at it. He has to do everything. Otherwise, the thought that would linger in his head is like, I could have done.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So as someone who lost their dad at an early age, right? And a dear friend who passed away at 21, like you ask yourself these interesting questions in terms of like, if I had called more, could that have gone differently? Or, you know, if I had spent more time with my dad, if I had asked him to come outside and blah, blah, blah. And for anybody who has asked those questions, like I just want to give them permission and peace to be like, you did everything you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
Certain things are beyond your control. And learning how to be okay with that is its own journey.
I was just about to say that. Like, I think the connection that people have with the show specifically around grief is that we are giving them permission.
Yeah.
Like they're able to see themselves in these characters, and just the idea that they're able to see all these different examples of how people tackle it in different ways, I think allows them the perspective of like, oh, there is no right way and there is no right time, which I don't know, I feel like is a great connection point.
It was a joke I used to make, but I also mean it seriously. People used to say that the show is sad. And I used to say, the show is not sad. You're sad.
Life is sad.
Like life is sad. And the reason you're having this response to it is because there's something in this that you relate to.
Yeah.
Like there's something in it. There's something in you that you are either currently going through or something that you're avoiding going through. Yeah. That this is picking at.
Yeah. It's touching a nerve.
Yeah.
Do you like that?
It's good. Yeah, I get the picking. That's a good picking action. Kate singing.
Oh.
And punching the crap out of Toby when he walked over in the bathroom. That was, I will say this. My wife and I have this thing every once in a while where I will sort of like startle her throughout the house. She loves it. No, she doesn't.
She loves
it.
Does she?
We'll have her on. We'll have her on as a guest. Yeah, we'll ask her.
She was on the show.
Hello?
That's right. She was on the show.
That's right.
And she has come close to doing that to me on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
Just like,
one of these days.
She clocked you. Then the next, first of all, let's just talk about Metz's voice, who had not had a recording career at this time. But like, I think Dan heard her sing. It's like, what you do around a writer, be careful.
Right.
Because they're going to be like, so you can do that?
Yeah.
And then it becomes like a major storyline.
Yeah.
And when we can get to it, but I'll just say, when she sings Time After Time, and the way in which she sort of like enters into it, and the way she grows in confidence as she sings it. First of all, the invitation to do it, like, Tobias was the king of the grand gesture before Jack.
Oh. Certainly.
Episodically.
To the audience.
Yes.
Episodically.
To the audience.
Episodically, right? You know what I'm saying? Like the things that you would do, it was gentle, but it was like, no, I know it. I see it in you.
But it is also borderline, like she says in the episode, crazy.
Sure.
Like, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
The carpet, the car, like it's interesting to watch him push the boundaries of like what he's trying to like chip away at.
Yeah.
What he's trying to chip away at.
Yeah.
With Kate, because she points it out too. Her resistance to it is not necessarily unfounded.
When you see the potential in an individual, it's almost like the world should be privy, right? Whether and like I want to put a big pressure on. Like we'll go to a retirement home, where my aunt Dolly, Aunt Dolly,
hello Dolly.
Hats off. I don't know who she was, but she gave a look.
Watch out, gentlemen. She's a wildcat. And this lady goes.
She gave a look that was so priceless in that episode. I was like, you better act. Yeah. You better act.
That was her audition right there.
But I don't know, man. Like, I'm actually moved by Toby's, I think the word I'm looking for is generosity.
Yeah.
You're not overlooking someone who I think is typically overlooked.
Sure.
I think that's what it is about it. And I think I'm also like, Sterling is coming at it from like a sort of fraternal place of like, my sister has been accustomed to being overlooked by a lot of people. And there's something that really opens up in my heart about somebody who sees her, not just for like her shape and size, but who sees her.
Right.
And is like, you should share it.
Right.
Yeah. You
I
are
dig.
special.
Let's share it.
Yeah.
Your brother's cool and all, but you, outside of all of that, are something.
Yes, because the next thing is she's feeding you food that you don't want to eat. And then Kevin comes in and is like, eat this
completely
crap?
Doesn't see me.
Does he? Doesn't.
I'm like, first of all,
hey,
6'4", 400 pounds. I'm right here. That's how self-centered you have to be to not see that person.
He does it so well.
I didn't see you there.
He does it so well. And then he like takes a bite of like whoever's food. It wasn't his food, right?
Takes a bite of my pancake.
He's like, you eating this? And you said,
I'm trying to get some sex.
Trying to get some sex, baby.
There's that horny Toby again.
Tobias be dropping
just all
bars.
comes back to, listen, man, I'm just trying to get some sex.
That's what you say because Toby's filter is one of comedy, right?
He's a bit of an arm's length guy.
Yes.
Which I also can be guilty of, where it's like the way that I connect with people, but at a distance is through comedy.
Yes. Yeah. But when you see later on, because as that storyline unfolds, and we'll go back and forth, but you recognize the relationship between Kate and Kevin is an interesting one because it starts off in the episode, these two can only sleep if they're in the thing with each other.
Yeah, Milo says that.
Right. And you're like, okay. So they are closely connected in that way from birth.
Yes. From the womb.
From the womb.
They shared the same hot tub for 9 months.
That's right. Huh? Dr. K.
It's good writing. It's good
Dr.
writing.
K. And now that has played itself out over time in such a way that like he sees his sister and does not see the 6'4", 400-pound man literally right in front of him.
Yeah.
And that you, as someone who wants to have a meaningful relationship, this was an interesting thing. I want to talk about this just briefly because it plays itself out over time. The way that the audience related to Toby was somewhat complicated because sometimes they were wondering if they could trust that he was attracted to someone who looked like Kate.
Yeah.
Right? And people were very like, what's he trying to do? Like, I don't understand his
What's his
angle.
ulterior motive,
What's
perhaps?
his ulterior motive? You know what I'm saying? Rather like, can he actually be a genuine dude?
Which is part of the bias that we have against people who are overweight, that they are non-sexual, non-romantic individuals.
And so that's why I just wanted, when I see these moments that remind me, Sterling has love for Chris, Randall has love for Tobias, but like the two intersect in a lovely way because it was kind, right? Was it forceful? Like sometimes like with your kids or whatever, you're like, I know this kid can do something. I'm not relating to that you're treating her like a child. This is my imperfect analogy, if you will. It's like you want them to realize the fullness of their potential, but they have to be provided a forum and an opportunity in order to allow that to be. And you've picked like one of the safest spaces that you could while still being public, but not so public that there are cameras around and everything else.
Sure.
Right.
Because I know you can do it.
Right.
That's just cool.
No one's given you the opportunity otherwise.
Yeah.
And it is interesting to sort of echo to, we don't know this about Jack yet and the grand gestures.
Right.
But it is interesting, like, oh, so she's choosing a man much like her father.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We talked about that, and you'll maybe see it in the development of my seasons is as Toby loses weight and the beard comes in. I talked even to costumes about slowly mimicking Jack's clothes.
Interesting.
Really?
Like him slowly becoming more like her dad.
Wow.
So I don't know if it plays. I don't know. We'll have to see.
I'm going to be watching
Yeah. Different perspective.
More That Was Us after these words from our sponsors.
I am always trying to do right by my body. So when it comes to my hair and scalp health, finding a product that actually works and is made with clean ingredients always seems like, I don't know, a bit of a trade-off. But with Vegamore, I get products that are made with clean ingredients and give me visibly healthier hair and scalp. With Vegamore, you're able to have visibly thicker, fuller, shinier, longer hair, all without the harsh ingredients. Every cute pink bottle of Vegamore products are 100% cruelty-free and are never formulated with potentially harmful chemicals like parabens or hormones.
What's even better is Vegamore's value kits, like the Grow Essentials Kit, where you get to try more than one amazing product at a great savings. When you sign up for a monthly subscription, you save more, and you never run low on the products you need to take care of your hair.
You guys, I have to tell you, I have used Vegamore for quite some time now. I've been a big fan. I love the way it smells. I love the way it feels. It's helped me in postpartum.
Really?
Yes, keep my hair from shedding too much.
Okay.
I've been a big fan, so I'm super psyched that they're a sponsor of the
Can you
show.
tell me what it's like to have hair?
It's not bad.
Listen, I will say the key is consistency to your routine, Chris. That's maybe where you're missing the boat.
Yes.
It's the consistency in your routine to get the most beautiful, healthy-looking hair. And I actually use the Vegamore Grow Hair Serum daily, and my scalp, my hair, they're really flourishing.
See, now you have my attention.
Yes.
Okay.
This Grow Serum you're talking about?
Yes.
See, fun fact, Vegamore sells one bottle of Grow Serum every 15 seconds on their website, and they just sold one more to me.
Boom.
They just sold two more to me.
That's how good this stuff is.
There goes three. There goes four. That's how good this stuff is.
Give your hair the power of the little pink bottle with Vegamore. For a limited time, That Was Us listeners get 20% off their first order by going to vegamore.com/TWU and use code TWU at checkout.
That's vegamor.com/TWU. Code TWU to save 20% on your first order. vegamor.com/TWU. Code TWU. All right. I have been so excited to partner with Quince here for the podcast. The weather is getting warmer, and so it's time to say goodbye to all my jackets and light sweaters, mostly light sweaters here in California, and say hello to shorts and tees, what we do best out here in Cali. I wanted to update my wardrobe for the long haul, and what I do most seasons is I try to get the classics, without spending a fortune.
Luckily, we found Quince. Now you've got a lineup of timeless pieces that keep you looking amazing year after year.
They've got so much great stuff. Premium European linen dresses, blouses and shorts from $30, washable silk tops, timeless 14-karat gold jewelry, and so much more. The best part? All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. We love that.
Now I've got a lineup of timeless pieces, comfy t-shirts, nice comfy pants and shorts that keep me looking effortlessly chic year after year. I am one fashionable dad. And the best part about all Quince items is that they are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They partner directly with top factories, and that's how they cut out the cost of the middleman, and they pass that savings on to us. I also found out that they do home goods. I'm talking rugs, linens, towels, curtains, silverware, flatware. And so Rachel and I have been building for like 3 or 4 years now a guest house. It is the never-ending project, but we're going to cap it off with Quince home goods. They are so lovely. We're going to use their rugs. We're going to use their towels, their linens. We're going to go full out Quince in the backyard.
Get warm weather ready with Quince. Go to quince.com/TWU for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/TWU to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TWU.
Okay. This brings my next note. It just says simply Rebecca and Randall. Because if Kevin has Kate, man, Randall got him some Rebecca like nobody.
He's got some mom. They have each other.
We have each other. It's like me and you must never part. Mandy, my question, because you were originally, let's get like a little backstory here. The timeline, you coming in, you're playing this woman in the past, whatever. Okay, I'm jumping forward 8 years, that's fine. That's pretty much still me. Talk to me about how like it was language to you, present day Rebecca,
Sure.
and like how it all played itself out.
Yeah, that was tricky because I got a call about 3 weeks before we started shooting the second episode. This was like the summer of 2016.
Yeah.
That they wanted me to go through hair and makeup trials to sort of see if they could land on a look that felt believable for me to play the present day version of Rebecca.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Was there a moment where they might cast someone else?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The idea was
I did not know that.
If it wasn't believable, if anyone had objections from producers, studio, whomever, that they would cast a more age-appropriate actress to play that iteration of Rebecca.
Right.
And so I didn't feel one way or another. I was like, I would love the challenge, but also like I want to do what's best for the show. I don't want it to feel gimmicky or, like I'm in costume. I don't want to obviously like take people out of the show.
Yeah.
So I remember there were so many hair and makeup tests.
How many did you do?
I want to say like 6.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Which is a lot when you're talking like
Sure.
The
it's
time that it
5
takes?
hours to put it on. And it was like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Like initially it was like a full face mask.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like a crazy long wig and like
Looked like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Totally. It was Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah, totally. It was that. And I was like, this can't be the direction. Of course, that was vetoed immediately.
Yeah.
And so it was like just trying to find the perfect, like happy medium.
Do you think that the hair and makeup department would share photos of those?
I have some photos.
You've got some?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you do?
Okay,
Okay,
good.
cool.
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Of different wigs.
Sure.
Great.
A different prosthetic like makeup house that the folks that like actually make the prosthetics was brought in after that like initial fitting, because I think they were like, we really want to pare this down and make it as natural and believable as possible. But I do remember the very first thing that we filmed once it had all been approved by the powers that be was the scene with Ron Cephas Jones.
Yeah.
And I was petrified. I was like, really? This is the first thing that you're going to throw at me is
Side
like,
by side.
yeah, jumping into like the depths with a master.
Yeah.
I was
That's
doing
so
all
great.
the hand movements.
That's so great.
I was throwing all the arms out.
That's so great.
I was so terrified because I felt like it really hinged on, like me playing this character at that age really hinged on this going okay and for people to be like, cool, we got it. And that is what ended up being the case, obviously, but it was not without like terrible trepidation. I tried to prepare as best as possible, but it was just terrifying.
After watching the third episode again, I was wondering. I was like, I wonder if there's some evolution. Like, I wonder if, like, when I see this, because you arrived, right? And then I wonder how the older Rebecca is going to evolve over the 6 seasons. And you show up in that scene.
Really?
Yeah.
Like,
I watched
fully,
it and I'm like, oh,
fully
was
real.
it?
Well, to our eyes, fully realized.
Sure. Okay.
Like,
That's kind of
Fantastic.
I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but there's a gentleness in your physicality that was
I did think a lot about the physicality.
That was so specific to an older woman.
Yeah.
No.
It was really great.
Vocal differences, like the placement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Masterclass.
Use acting up with that joint, man.
Let's say right now, you in this show, you play 16.
Yes.
Yeah. I
And
don't know how
90.
they pulled that off.
That one shot with the pigtail.
Yeah.
And 90
And the braces.
and 90 years old. You played nobody.
Never again. Well,
Nobody in television has ever done that.
No, it's true.
What I found really interesting too, like you spoke to this in an earlier episode where you walked into the writer's room and the chronology of this family was sort of like taped up on the top of the ceiling that sort of went around the room in the writer's room. And it was for all of us to like center ourselves, and the writers obviously too, like just huge milestones for the family. And so I found that to be so helpful. And also we were invited into the writer's room whenever we wanted, but we would have these meetings at the beginning of the season where the writers would sort of like, and showrunners would lay out like, this is what's happening to your character.
Right.
Do you want to know about other characters? And I was like, yes, I want to know everything because it all sort of feeds into the life of a mother. But this was such a good indication because, you know, we found out obviously in my character's case, like this is a woman who lost a child. That is something you never rid yourself of. That is something she carries with her till the day she died. And, you know, also you come to realize in this episode that she knows Randall's birth father. There is a relationship there. There is history. There is a lot unspoken. There was this agreement between the two of them. And so this is a woman who has also carried that shame and that guilt and that secret around for all these years. And it's just like keeping that in mind and keeping that in my body, and also like having to sort of separate myself, Mandy, from the character because I just felt so much empathy for her, for William, for Randall, for like everybody involved, and not letting that like permeate the character. I've always found that was the hardest, like not letting my feelings permeate how the character was feeling. But it does give you just a real deep dive into like what this woman was carrying around with her. And I had to again separate the like disagreement I found with her. Like I don't agree with the way that she was doing her level best, right? All of us are at any given time, right? She was doing what she thought was best for her family, what she thought she could handle. And as a human, I looked in on that story and was like, I just don't agree. That's so hard for me to reconcile that this woman knew who her child's birth father was, and she didn't allow him into the picture and in his life. Like, what a disservice. Just the sliding doors of that, of what could have been.
I have massive amounts of empathy for her.
It's completely.
Because at the time, too, it's still unclear, like, she meets him. She understands that there's addiction involved.
Correct.
Like,
she's being protective.
Right. So and even William says it was the right deal. We made the right deal.
Sure.
But
I'm sure that it lingered, the doubt, the shame, the guilt, all of it lingered in her forever.
The thing that it was such a process for you to get to the point where you could have connection with him, right? That the idea that somebody could come along and sort of like deprive you of it is like, I'm still trying to work. We're still trying to figure something out, me and this boy. So the idea that you could come along and sort of disrupt that is not something I need in the back of my head. He's my son. And I need to like make that as concretized as possible.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Also, for people rewatching, go back and watch just the moment before you realize that you and William have history. Go back and watch the moment where you tell her that you found your father. She played that moment flawlessly.
Yeah.
There's this hidden like panic that comes over your face that you stuff immediately.
Yeah.
And what's he like?
Yeah.
And like, but it's so subtle.
Because it's a moment I'm sure she never thought she'd have to reconcile with her entire life. Like, for all intents and purposes, this was a secret she was going to her grave with. Jack never knew. And so no one else was ever going to know. It was a secret between the two of them. And that was, as far as it went.
There's also, that's our first scene is mom and
in present day, my first time working together.
In present day or whatnot. You were so in it. Like at no point in time. Mandy Moore is 8 years younger than your boy. At no point in time I was like, this isn't gonna work. Like I was just like, all right, we're safe. And it really sort of like did it to me because I go in and I introduce you guys to each other and you say, sweetheart, can we have some time by ourselves? Like you just dismissed me. Like grown folks need to talk now. And I was like, okay.
I'm gonna get out. I'll be downstairs.
Sorry.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I do believe your performance was unsung.
Oh.
The annals of television history, people will go back and be like, what that woman did was something special.
That means a lot from you guys, please.
Yeah, it was incredible.
I remember during this time, it was the first little bout of really feeling the negativity towards Rebecca, which I understood.
There was the first season had an interesting sort of thing
to it. I think Jack was so heroic.
Yeah.
And some of the decisions that Rebecca made didn't really sit well with people. I think they thought that she put, her career aspirations and later, episodes before her family. And in this case, I think people obviously, again, understandably didn't agree with the way that she handled having a relationship and knowing who Randall's birth father was. But this was such a different time. We didn't have the same sorts of resources and information that we all would have now. Yeah. Let's say if we were fostering or adopting a child. And so it just, I feel like I have a lot of empathy in that regard as well, that like she was really just trying her level best.
It was a 1-2 punch with the Miguel reveal and the William reveal.
Yes.
For Rebecca's character. It was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You wound up with your husband's best friend and you knew who your son's daddy was and you
kept it from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. She did not curry favor with people at that point.
Persona non grata for a little while.
So in these first episodes, I know you talked about having to play a mother.
Yeah.
But also the logistics of literally handling
children, babies. I had never changed a diaper before, guys. Milo had to literally show me how to change a diaper.
How did Milo know?
Because he has nieces and nephews.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. He had way more hands-on experience, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know. I mean, swaddling, I'm still terrible at, but like.
So some of the panic was real.
It was all real.
Yeah.
It was very real. I'm like, I have someone else's children here that I have to safeguard, and I don't know how to put a diaper on.
Someone else's children. That is amazing. People don't think about that. They're watching like, mom and dad are sitting right over there.
Yeah.
With bassinets full of babies.
Yeah. Just waiting for their turn.
Waiting for their turn.
Because like we went through this period, this is just a sidebar, of like having real babies on set that's for years and years and years. Then COVID came. And then we had like
dolls
for some time. Yeah. And then we got back to babies at the very end then, right? So it was a very interesting evolution. And I only had a couple of babies to work with. You had 3, because that's how many kids you have. I had 2. And I'd had babies at that point in time too. And it was it was interesting. I'm jumping, but this is an important thing. Because I love, like people say the animals and babies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when you gave me your baby, I was like, Mandy, let me hold her baby. And I remember when we got to the storyline later on where Kate and Toby were thinking about having a baby had a baby. And I remember watching Chris hold the baby. And I was like, Chris want a baby. Yeah, like
I love babies.
Yeah, I remember I said,
it's socially unacceptable for a man of my size and beard.
It is
to be like, do you mind if I hold your baby?
But it's one of those things where from man to man, I came up to you. I said, you want one of those.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He's like, I'm working.
Yeah. Children's response to me all depends on how they feel about giants and usually
beards.
And beards. Their dad usually has to have a beard if we're going to get along.
Point of
Something that feels familiar to them. So, okay. In the previous episode, we have Beth talking about how her husband's superpowers is goodness.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Rebecca telling William, like, you better be worth it. Because my son's going to do everything in his power.
Put everything in front of
to make sure that you're going to be okay. And the next thing you see is William walking down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And this was an interesting thing to rewatch because John and Glenn, our directors of these first 2 episodes, will give you a lot of different options and takes, and maybe they'll throw like, maybe you want to say this, maybe you want to say that, or they'll just let it run for a second and give you an opportunity to do something. And it's funny because I'm trying to get him in this car, you know, and he's a little bit judgmental in terms of like what kind of medical professionals you've had at your disposal. And I'm like, I can do something here. Just give me a chance to see if it'll be more effective. And then there's the people in the neighborhood who are watching.
Yeah.
And then I said, like, hi, white people, just friendly neighborhood black man. And that's not
scripted. Oh, that's my question.
That's not scripted. But like, it was one of those moments like when I saw that they let it in, I was like, oh, they're giving me a little bit of space to see like if I have something I can go ahead and present it, which was a cool feeling for me because every once in a while you'll have an idea and you're like, I'm gonna try it. And sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And you just kind of throw it out there to see what happens. But for me too, it wasn't just a matter of trying to be funny, but it was also really hammering home this feeling of otherness that is something that you can carry around with you quite often when you are in predominant white spaces and you're one of the few raisins, if not the only raisin in the sun, right? And so having these sorts of conversations with your bio father in front of people is like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Get in the car, please. There's good white people watching this too.
Were those conversations, though, that you went into the writer's room and talked about outright?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dan is just sort of highly attuned to it too. And I said this in a speech once, like it wasn't a character who was written black by happenstance, but he was his race and ethnicity were a part of the story. So I think in my mind, anything that I did that served that wasn't superfluous. It was part of who he was. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
There's an incredible amount of trust too that John and Glenn, not at this point in the series, but maybe because they did a couple at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they said to me at one point, they were like, just so you know, you guys, you all have this. Like this is gonna go a long time, and there's gonna be a lot of directors that come and go, who will give you direction, and you should take it if you think that it is right. But know that you know this person better than anybody.
Yeah.
Because you're living inside them.
Yeah.
And they were the first people that said to me, so just do what you think is right. Like, and I hadn't, because of my lack of television experience at this time, I was like, read the words, do the thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Same.
Don't stir the pot, show up. But they gave me just that little bit of freedom to inhabit the character fully and to really investigate, okay, well, what do I really want to bring of myself to this person?
So we've had this conversation before. We both sort of agree on the 87% sort of thing, which is basically, we say the majority of what's on the page, and then a lot of it just kind of like, hey, showtime. For you, I'm curious, are you a dead letter? Do you try to just say what's there? Do you feel anything in the moment that like just kind of like comes out?
I'm pretty much, I stick to the page.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you both are just so naturally confident and funny.
Thank you.
That
Thank you.
That maybe you guys feel like you do have a little bit more like wiggle room and freedom.
Yeah.
I always felt like not confined to the page, but I was like, this is great. I'll stick to this.
I got you.
It's also the character too. Like our characters were a little more shoot from the hip.
Sure.
Sure.
Than Rebecca.
When Jack is talking to Dr. K, he says, I think she might be a little broken.
Yeah.
My wife. I just gotta give it up to Milo Ventimiglia. Like, and the doctor's like, normally the mother comes in with these things like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, I think she might have needed a break, whatnot. And you see him just being overwhelmed, almost feeling like a single dad. He's not, but in this moment, he's feeling like a single dad because he's like, I don't know if I have a partner in this right now because I think she's a little broken.
Yeah.
He got me. I'm just saying, like, the dude got me.
He searches for the word broken just a little bit because he can't come up with, he doesn't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then and later in the episode, and it's short-lived, but just like, this is the second time we've seen Jack likes to sit and sleep on floors, evidently. Yeah. Because in 102, he camped out outside of the bed. It's like a little puppy dog. Like, I'll be right here.
I was like, are we going to make this a thing? Where we're always sitting on the floor?
I sleep on floors. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of do.
You come in, you turn on the light, you see him in the background, like, I didn't think you're going to come back. And I was like, Jack, get off the floor.
It'd been great if it became a running
family
joke.
With not a ton of furniture in that episode.
Yeah.
So, yes.
We'll be right back with more That Was Us.
When my cats are healthy and happy, that makes me happy. But since I'm not really a mind reader, I don't always know when they're unwell. So helping me keep tabs on their health is just one of the reasons that I love and use Pretty Litter.
Pretty Litter's ultra-absorbent crystals trap odor instantly. No more cat bathroom smell.
Ugh. Why is having a clean litter box so necessary for everyone in the house? Honestly, it's everything.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, as someone with 3 cats, it is essential.
It is everything.
He has 3 cats. Yeah.
But you'd never know it.
You wouldn't know it.
There you
can't
go.
Smell
That's
them.
it. Pretty Litter's super light crystal base also minimizes mess and dust. Plus, the crystals last up to a month, which means less scooping and fewer trips to the garbage can.
Here's the coolest thing about Pretty Litter. It changes colors to help monitor early signs of potential illness in your cats, Mandy, including urinary tract infections and kidney issues.
And Pretty Litter ships free right to my door in a small, lightweight bag. I never have to run out of it, and I don't have to have a huge container of cat litter taking up space, stinking up my space, all of that. Pretty Litter helps keep tabs on my cat's health and keeps odors down.
You and your cat are going to love Pretty Litter as much as we do. Go to prettylitter.com/TWU and use code TWU to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy.
That's prettylitter.com/TWU, code TWU to save 20% and get a free cat toy. prettylitter.com/TWU, code TWU. That journey, like you said, I thought you were going to go to Mexico, and you said, like, I wouldn't have gone to Mexico without you.
Yeah.
Come on, man. It's like, look, she's like, look, I'm working through this stuff with the kids. Me and you gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But to be able to, I think it gives a wonderful sense of permission. And you tell me, Mandy, if you went through anything like this or if you wish to share. But I'll say that my wife had a bit of postpartum after having the babies, with each one, both to varying degrees. And it's something that people don't talk about. It's something like you're supposed to just immediately be in love, fully, with no exception, da-da-da. That's the end of the story. And for a lot of people, that is exactly the case. And then for some people, it's a little bit different. And I think being able to see Rebecca go through that gives permission to be like, I'm not a psychopath. Mm-hmm. I'm not broken or damaged.
I'm not a bad mother.
I'm a human being figuring this stuff out in real time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a profound chemical shift in your body, like on a cellular level. It's like everyone should be given the permission as a new parent to feel all of that and to not think that one person's journey is the staple, is the only way.
Yeah.
And so you're right. I think, as our show often did, it gave people this perspective and you know, just the permission, the key word of just like, this is also a way for it to unfold and for it to look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if our show had anything to do with it, but these conversations seem to come. I remember reading a New York Times article this actor who I know from the theater community in New York had written about her miscarriages.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just people,
Yes.
they didn't know how to talk about it. More specifically, you don't know when to talk about it because it's a tricky thing, right? Because when Rachel's pregnant, at no point do we want to discuss the possibility of that happening.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
I mean, there's a great deal of patriarchy and sexism involved and lack of information on women's health and women's health research and things like that. But the like you were talking about, that chemical
change, shift, everything.
You're this unit, and then you're broken apart, and now there's this piece of you living outside of you. But there's also this grown man who still wants to be your boyfriend.
Yeah.
You know, was trying so hard to be like helpful. I was like, when Bear was born, you know, I was like, I'm an employee in this house.
Yeah.
I do chores. I get things done.
For shizzle.
I chop wood. I carry water. Now, it took me a while to realize that. There was some pouting involved. There was some hurt feelings.
Yes,
there was
sir.
some like, what is going on here? Can I have some?
I appreciate this
can I
admission.
May I
from both
please
of you.
have just 10 seconds of eye contact? I'll take anything.
Yeah.
Which is another side of this parenting thing that doesn't get talked about. The same bonding thing.
Yes, sir.
Because I had a friend right when we started who had just had a baby, and he was like, Chris, before we were pregnant, I wasn't sure I wanted to have a baby. The day he was born, wasn't sure I want to have a baby. He's 9 months old now. Still not sure I want to have a baby.
Cool.
Like, and that's nobody wants to hear that.
Sure.
Nobody wants to hear that you're like you're not having any relationship with this baby.
Yeah.
That is your son or your daughter or whoever it is.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, you're expected to be, oh my God, is it the best thing that's ever happened to you in your life?
Right.
Actually, right now it's one of the worst.
Yeah. I know it will
'Cause
probably get better.
Our marriage was going great. Even the pregnancy was great. And now this?
Yeah.
And you were pregnant during the pandemic?
Yeah.
My wife was pregnant during the pandemic. So there's all, obviously, there were added stressors and restraints
Slightly.
to global disease on mating in captivity. But it's all of this grief conversation and the way that everyone processes it, from Rebecca's perspective, from Jack's perspective, people trying to make things work, people trying to protect their son from outside whatever. Like it's the when. With these conversations, we don't know when is the right time. And the interesting part about this show was that it gave context. And if you never had a time to talk about it, the perfect time to talk about it was after an episode of television that you just saw.
Yeah.
I had, Aryan Moayed.
Yeah.
He used to watch the show with his daughters. And he was like, this is great because every episode gives us the context for a conversation I need to have with them anyways.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
And so we watch it together, and then we talk about the episode and how they feel about it and how they feel about these topics. And it's like the perfect familial
forum for
discussion.
Wow.
More than anything that I think most of us have been a part of, you heard how it brought families together to be able to enter into a conversation about something that they didn't even realize that they needed to have. Yeah.
There was a time where I was at one of these Comic-Con conventions, actually with Milo. We were both at this convention, and the show was in the first season, and this couple walked up to my table to talk to me, not about Guardians of the Galaxy, about This Is Us. And they each had a newborn strapped to their chest, the mom and the dad. And I said, oh my God, twins. And the mom said, actually, triplets.
Oof.
And we had a moment, and they didn't say anything else. I didn't say anything else. And I just said, I'm so sorry. And we started talking. And what they said to me, and Milo was next to me, at the table next to me, there's nobody we know who we could talk to about this.
Oof. Yeah.
There's nobody we know who's been through this. And then this show comes on TV and on a weekly basis, walks us through the recovery process. And that was when I was just like, this is more than just a dramatic.
Yeah.
You would think this scenario is so specific.
So specific.
Who could this show apply to?
And yet you met them.
Oh my God.
And they were
Wow.
they were learning, like we've talked about, the solutions.
Yeah.
How are we going to do this? And week by week, they would tune in to figure out, okay.
Yeah.
Real
All right.
world application. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The codependency of Kevin and Kate, we sort of reach a boiling point because Toby and his grand gesture it pays off. She feels like something that she hasn't been able to get in touch with for a while.
Toby is inches from sex.
About to knock
Finally.
these boots.
Finally.
And the phone rings. And she has to answer it because she knows it's her brother, right? Yeah. Foiled again, if it wasn't for those pesky kids. But what I love about how this whole thing plays out is because you tell her, like, I'm not here to play games.
Yeah.
Like, I may come off as in a very particular way, but like, I'm here because
I don't do this for just anyone.
For just anybody. Like, I'm here because I'm for real.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm not gonna play second banana to your brother. And you go like, you have to. Everybody does, right? And you're like, well, dadgum. But then you talk about timing. Like, Kev winds up telling her, she comes over and she diffuses what's Elaine, crazy Elaine or something like that. And she's like, yeah, well, you called me and Toby did this thing for me and it was great. And but I had to come because you called and you're like, wait, you were in the midst of, like,
you answered the phone?
Yeah, you answered the phone. And she's like, yeah, of course I did. And he just said, you're fired.
You're fired.
You're done.
She's like, what? She's like, yeah, you're fired. Yeah, you're like my assistant or whatever. What's that? Like, I got to go. You don't have to go. Like, and just the timing of it, Justin's delivery of it, like sort of just like, I'm pulling you down. You know? Like, you have something available to, because she says, I don't know who I am
Without you.
if I'm not your sister.
Yeah.
And he goes, I do. You're going to like her. Man, this daggone show, dude.
Because it's all in the delivery too,
Yes.
right? On face value, you're like, oh, okay, that's a good line. But then the way Justin packages it.
There's something about the writing that is so sentimental that tiptoes on the edge of saccharine and never goes there.
Yeah.
Never.
Like, it never teeters over. And performers like Justin, who just hold it down, like hold it.
Yeah.
And just deliver it.
It's fantastic. And he lands in New York. He's like, yeah, I decided. Oh, he called. And then, oh, good, you didn't answer the phone. Maybe you're having some sex.
This was the greatest line delivery in the history of television. Sex. It should be, I should make that his ringtone for when he calls. He calls a lot. Just if anyone's wondering. Justin and
Just
I,
for reference.
best friends, calls me all the time.
It was so sweet, too, because we have that moment of, like, twins feeling things and, like, the plane touches down and he comes up and then she wakes up and you say everything okay. He's like, yeah, he's fine. We're fine.
Yeah.
And he goes to sleep. I don't know. I love that. So
I love it too.
I love that. And then you see Randall taking William to the hospital and hearing all the blood tests, doing everything that they can to find out if there's any sort of treatment that can be done or what have you. And at the end of the day, it's as William said, it's inoperable. The fate is going to be what the fate is. And Randall's talking to his wife and he's putting together a puzzle. That was like, I don't know what I did all this for. Like, I bring this man in here to die. So, like, what his grandkids get to know him and then grieve him. And Randall gets a little verklempt there and it takes off his glasses. And she has this way of just, like, putting her hands on your face and, like, rubbing the tear. And she's done it to me a few times throughout the course of the show. And each time it happens, I was like, I feel loved. That's I just have to say. Like, I feel loved.
Coming through her hands.
You know, she's just being taken care of. I feel like that's such an awesome thing that you said in that first episode. You see people taking care of each other. And this is just another example of that.
Is this the part of the podcast where we ask people to rate and review?
And subscribe.
Yeah. Listen,
subscribe,
if you guys want us to do all 100 and how many?
106.
6 episodes. We got it. This was the #1 show on television. We need to make this the #1 podcast on
Podcast networks.
On podcast networks. So
Let's go.
Not only
Platforms.
the people that you watch the show with, tell them about the podcast.
There you
Let's
go.
rewatch the show together.
Please.
It does help if you write reviews to bump us up.
Sure.
Bump us up the charts, and please rate with 5 stars only. 5 stars only.
Only 5 stars. If you're going to
Is-
rate anything else,
Yeah.
Then
just
forget
don't
it.
bother.
Otherwise,
Then
hold
forget
on
I
to
said
that.
anything. We also have our email, which is thatwasuspod@gmail.com, where we
Yep.
want to hear your stories. We want to hear how you relate to the show.
Yes.
We want video. We want audio. We might even throw some of it up here on this screen.
Let's do that. I
We're
would
here
love
to
that.
answer questions
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a phone number, an emotional hotline if you want to share anything that the show brought up for you, or anything that that's going on in your life right now. We would love to help you process, as the show helped so many of us.
Sure.
Please give us a call at 412-501-3028.
And if there are specific episodes that are coming down the line that you have questions about or stories about,
Yes.
please include that, because we
Yeah.
want to get as granular and specific as possible.
We enjoy doing this.
That
I
was
love
us.
being with you guys.
The pleasure is mine, ma'am, sir.
That was us.
All right, gang, we're about to enter into our fan segment for episode 3. And episode 3 dealt a lot about grief. So, at this time, what we want to do is really just breathe with you.
Yeah. Actually, we can do a little breath work right now, as long as you're not driving and listening. Maybe if you're sitting and listening, you could close your eyes, and we could take a couple of deep breaths and discuss what grief means to us. So if we take a deep breath in on a 3 count and hold it for 3 and out for 3. And you can repeat that as many times as you would like.
Okay. Yeah, that was really good, actually. I think I needed that.
Yeah.
I'm sure other folks needed that too.
Just a little reset, make space for a moment of stillness in the day, whether in your car or at home or anywhere else. That moment was just for you.
In this episode today that we are discussing, we saw the Pearsons navigate their feelings of sadness, grief, pain, sorrow, and for Rebecca and Jack, there's also a bit of light mixed in, because of course they are welcoming in baby Randall while mourning the loss of Kyle.
Yeah.
Similarly for Randall, he has his biological father back in his life, and that's the light. But he is also in the process of dying, and so there is also darkness. And dealing with darkness amidst the light can be especially hard.
Yeah, we grieve because we love. And when we lose someone we love, we have to learn how to live our lives amidst this newfound empty space. And a sense of who we are is really bound up in that person. So to lose a child or a sibling, a parent, or a spouse implies 2 people. So when that person leaves, we may feel that we've lost a part of ourselves in the process. And that makes sense because we were part of a we, and now it's just an I.
So, if you're in the midst of a grieving process and struggling, we encourage you to surround yourself with those you love and who love you and can be there for you and support you, to seek the help you need. You do not have to do life alone.
So let's take another moment of stillness and breathe in and allow yourself to just be, and breathe out. Okay. Close your eyes if they're not closed already, unless of course you're driving. Just and keep your eyes on the road and or pull over. Do what you have to do. You know what you have to do. Give yourself a hug. Seriously, connect that circuit. Wrap your arms around yourself if you have to. There you go. Yeah, we just had a big, beautiful group hug. Did you feel that?
Yeah.
That was a group hug.
That was a nice hug. I felt it.
Right on.
Connecting.
All right, gang.
Until next time.
Till next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
That Was Us is filmed at The Crow and produced by Rabbit Grin Productions and Sarah Wareheim. Music by Taylor Goldsmith and Griffin Goldsmith.